A federal judge in Florida voided the federal mask mandate for public transportation Monday. The ruling says the CDC failed to justify the requirement and its implementation violated administrative law. Last week, the agency had extended the mask mandate for planes, buses, trains, and transit hubs to May 3rd. Meanwhile, Philadelphia is now the first major U.S. city to reinstate a mask mandate inside public spaces due to a spike in COVID cases. Nikki Batiste has the latest.
We are just getting clarity from the administration on that judge's ruling today, saying they are reviewing the judge's order, but that for now, the TSA will no longer enforce the mask mandate on public transportation. Adding to all of this confusion, there is a new mask mandate here in Philadelphia that took effect today. That means about 20,000 fans at this 76ers game tonight will once again have to mask up. You can now fly or ride the buses and trains mask-free. Tonight, the CDC announced its mask mandate on public transportation is no longer in effect and won't be enforced. The move comes just hours after a federal judge in Florida ruled it was unlawful. Today, a U.S. district judge said the court accepts the CDC's argument that masks limit COVID spread, but that alone was not sufficient to exceed the agency's authority. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Celine Gounder says it's still too soon.
We don't know how the BA2 variant is going to play out across the country. As of right now, my advice as a physician to anybody traveling on a plane would be to continue wearing a mask when you're traveling on public transportation, including on an airplane.
Meanwhile, Philadelphia is the only U.S. city bringing back indoor masks as a precaution. There has been a 67% increase in COVID cases in the last 10 days. That's an average of over 200 COVID cases per day.
I think it's a mistake.
Philadelphia restaurant owner Yehuda Seychelle is concerned the revived mandate will hurt business again.
When masks were mandated, people are less inclined to go out to the city specifically. You know, the city, there's a lot of people that live in the city, but really the city thrives off people coming from the suburbs.
A group of 22 business owners and residents is suing the city, seeking to overturn the mask mandate.
Philadelphia actually did away with the CDC guidelines as a standard, and they've invented their own guidelines. They're making this stuff up.
In response to the lawsuit, the city says it has the legal authority.
The role of the CDC is really to provide minimum guidelines in terms of what is safe. So a city like Philadelphia can decide to be more aggressive about what they require, and other places might choose not to be so aggressive.
It is unclear whether airlines will implement their own mask rules, but the majority of airlines have been asking to drop the mask requirement. But the CDC still recommends wearing a mask on public transportation. Elaine?
Nikki Batiste, thank you. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us now for more on this. She is also a professor at Loyola Law School. Jessica, welcome. So the ruling says, quote, the mask mandate exceeds the CDC's statutory authority and violates the procedures required for agency rulemaking under the Administrative Procedure Act. Help us understand this a bit more, Jessica. Does this ruling have to do solely with the CDC's power to call for a mask mandate? And also, was there a scientific basis cited in the judge's ruling?
No scientific basis cited, a legal basis cited. So as you said very clearly in the introduction, there's two reasons that this judge said that the CDC mask mandate must fail. The first one is, she said, I'm looking at the federal law language. I'm looking at the statutory language. And CDC, you don't have the power to implement this mask mandate. I'm looking at a word like sanitation, and I'm looking at words like other measures. And I don't think a mask mandate, the judge said, falls within either the word sanitation or a broader reading of the words other measures, which the CDC is empowered to implement. That was, I think it's worth noting, in my view, a very, very narrow ruling of the grant of authority that is typically seen as being given to the CDC. And then on the other side, she said there's another problem here, which is the CDC didn't go about this the right way. Not only did it go beyond its authority, but it didn't provide notice and an opportunity for the public to comment. And yes, she said, you've claimed there's an exception to that requirement for notice and comment. You claim there's good cause, but I don't see it here, even given this virus that we know transmits through aerosolized particles.
So what is the practical effect? Does this mean that people can now go mask-free on planes and other public transit?
So that would be the practical effect. Absolutely. The reason I'm pausing for a minute is because I think this is a moment of a bit of confusion where we don't know what the federal government will do. They may decide to emergency appeal, and as part of that appeal say, we need to stay, meaning push pause on this federal district court judge's decision. That would mean that the CDC mask mandate would still be in effect for that additional 2 weeks. The federal government at this point has waited almost an entire day. So the judge's ruling goes into effect, as I view it, immediately, and therefore the mask mandate would not currently be implemented. The airlines are saying it takes us about 24 hours to change our rules. So it may be that tonight, tomorrow is a bit of a transition period.
All right, we'll wait to see if there is additional response from the federal government. Jessica Levinson. Jessica, thanks as always for your insight and analysis.
Thank you.